Hi, I'm Eliza David. I want to continue today with my series on the 10 Commandments. I really started it all as a 10-day or 10 Commandment challenge. And can you pass the test? Because many of us think that we are really terrific people in our own estimation. But when we look at ourselves through the eyes of the Torah and through the values of the Torah, it sheds a different light. And of course, the only honest, true light to look at ourselves and to examine our own behaviors. Now today we are on commandment number 6, thou shalt not murder. And are you sure that you didn't kill anyone? Most of the time when we get to this commandment, people are relieved. They're like, phew, maybe coveting, stealing, it's debatable whether I was jealous or if, I didn't act so honestly in business. We can kind of debate those, but killing, most of us can pretty much walk away and say we didn't murder anybody. But like every science, every subject that requires scrutiny and analysis, you have to define what exactly it is you're talking about. In Judaism, the definition of murder takes on very creative and interesting twists and turns. Did you know that embarrassing a person in public, according to the Talmud, Baba Metzia 59a, that embarrassing a person in public is tantamount to murder? Because just as blood is spilled in the act of murder, so too when you shame somebody, the blood drains from that person's face. But not only that, you steal their dignity, you steal their honor, you steal who they think they are. You take a lot from a person when you embarrass them in public. That's murder. And not only is it a single murder, it's a double homicide. Because not only is the embarrassed person considered murdered, but the perpetrator who does the embarrassing loses his own share in the world to come, which is even worse. And how do we know this is worse? Because the question is, if you go out and murder somebody, plain and simple, kill them, or you cause people to sin and go against Hashem and to do all the things opposite of which are written in the Torah, which is worse? That you stabbed or that you made everybody sin? And the answer is the second one, the latter, because the former kills a person just in this world, and it's awful and it's terrible and we shouldn't be the victim of it and we shouldn't be the perpetrator of it. But when you make people sin, you make them lose their world to come. A world that's supposed to last much longer, that does last much longer if you get there. The body has a temporary existence. You murdered a person, but one day they were going to die anyways. In the world to come, that would have been forever. And that you've taken away from them. So when you cause people to sin, when you make fun of them, when they want to keep Torah, when you try and influence people, don't do it, it's so stupid, it's an old rule, it doesn't apply to the world today. Or which way you put temptations in front of a person to make them sin so that you can get control out of them because you don't like when they obey God because you're not in charge anymore. Sin controls you. Sin shackles you and you want to be the one in charge of holding the reins of another person. But that makes you a murderer of the worst kind, because that soul will be cut off and so will yours. And so, just to not be so negative, the opposite of that is also true. Somebody who just does mitzvot for their own self-preservation. I'm doing my thing, I keep Shabbat, I eat kosher, mind my own business. No, the duty of a Jew is to make everybody around you better. Everybody around you keep mitzvot, to spread the light like you're a Chanukah menorah, not just keep it to yourself. Why do we put the Chanukah menorah on the window? It's a duty of every Jew, a symbolic duty. It's a symbolic menorah of our duty to share the light, to spread the light, to once again to be the light. So what's a bigger mitzvah? To be a good person in your own little environment, meaning good, I put on my tefillin, I keep Shabbat, I keep kosher, I give tzedakah once in a blue moon, or to do all those things, but also make everybody around you come to serve God. So you are doing the opposite of murder. You are bringing life in this world and in the world to come. Gossip, slandering, is another form of murder. When you slander and gossip about people, you kill their reputations, you can ruin their lives. You know what they say? The lies are already went around the world before the truth puts its running shoes on. You can ruin people's lives with your tongue, talking bad about them. And even if something you have to say is true, unless it's to protect somebody else from falling into a danger, you keep your mouth shut. Because talking about another person's bad qualities, if they are true, perpetuates them. You are continually creating the reality that's condensing and confirming on that person those qualities. Silence is golden. The Talmud teaches that gossip, evil gossip, kills 3 people. The one who says it, the one who listens to it, and of course the subject, the person being spoken about. And it's interesting because a person may commit many sins. And it's not a good thing because every one of our actions creates an angel that is protecting us. He's our defense attorney or prosecuting us. So every time you do a sin, you're creating a prosecutor against you. Every time you do a mitzvah, you're creating a defense attorney for you. But a person who commits the sin of gossiping puts himself in an extra special, worse situation, a dangerous situation, because the sages teach that all of one's gossiping words, they come as the strongest prosecuting angels against you when you are in a moment of danger. Just when your fate is about to be decided, to live or to die in a court case, and some moment where really something is so integral and important for you, that's when the angels take up everything bad against you and bring it to the heavenly court, pleading for your destruction, for your death. And those words that you used to slaughter everyone by talking bad about them, all that now is turned against you. Because we know in Judaism the concept of midah keneged midah, the perfect justice system. God's creation has the perfect justice system, and what you do will come back to you. Another thing that Judaism considers murder is wasting seed. In the Torah, this prohibition, the Talmud says it's tantamount to murder. And you may think the rabbis are exaggerating, because we always think that when they tell us things we don't want to hear, when it gets in the way of fun and life and all the pleasures that we lust after. Except in the Torah, that we see in the Torah itself. And often people will say, yeah, well, show me where it's written. Open the book, you'll see where it's written. It's funny how all these people always want to know where it's written, never even read the Bible once, but they're against it, in ignorance. In the Torah itself, it says that God himself didn't send an executioner, an angel, Malach HaMavis, nothing. God himself kills Judah's son, Er, and his other son, Onan, for the sin of spilling seed. Hence we have in the modern day vernacular the word onanism, however you pronounce it, wherever you're from, the sin of spilling seed in vain, because life is to be treasured and valued. And it's written in the Kabbalistic teachings that all the souls of the children that were never born, because they were spilled in vain in seed, when a person dies, they come to attack the other living children, because they remain as bodiless demons, and they're mad and they're angry and they're jealous of children who came into this world. Everything you do has a repercussion. The blinds are closed, the lights are off, the doors are closed, nobody knows anything. But Hashem knows everything. There are no secrets. You are accountable for every breath you take, because every breath you take is a gift, as we have seen through the coronavirus, not to take breaths for granted. And for certain, a person is not allowed to kill himself, either by suicide or by seriously neglecting his health, which can lead to death. The Rambam, who was a great rabbi and a doctor, teaches that a person's body is not his own. We must take the utmost care and be vigilant custodians of our well-being until God decides to call us home. Human life is so precious in Judaism that even closing the eyes of a dying person, just to close their eyes, somehow they're dying, you want to close their eyes, make it more comfortable for everybody, they shouldn't have a blank stare, whatever it is. Human life is so precious that even closing the eyes of a dying person, hastening their death by just a mere few seconds, makes one a full-fledged murderer and liable to the same punishment as one who killed a healthy individual. That's in the Talmud, Simachot 1:4. Judaism even prohibits self-incrimination. If the death penalty is on the table being considered, a person cannot be a witness against himself. And we know in Judaism that saving the life of one person is like as if you save the entire world. And how is that an exaggeration? We see what one person can do. We see what a Moshe Rabbeinu could do. We also saw what a Hitler can do. Each person has within them universes and universes of life. We learn of the story of King Chizkiyahu, who refused to have children because he had prophetic vision that from him would come unworthy children, an evil son. And he was punished. It was not for him to decide. It's not for us to involve ourselves with the secrets of the Almighty, to decide who will live and who will die. We have one instruction, and it is, do not murder. And this includes all forms of life. We have to have respect for all living things. For animals, for trees. We're not allowed to randomly tear a leaf off of a branch in Judaism. It creates pain to the tree. And when you start to work on your sensitivities to all of creation, from the smallest, then you will, when you finally reach mankind, which is the reason for all of creation, mankind, and his duty to keep the Torah, murdering a person will be so much beyond our ability in all the definitions that we went through right now. So, this was commandment number 6. And as I ask with all of them, can you pass the test? Did you pass the test?